double this real quick. I figured they were going to die at some point. Oh yeah, these are the crappy smart living batteries. I think I got these at a Dollar Tree once. All right. All right. Shalom, everyone. We're live. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Bear with me for a second. I just need to get some batteries for my keyboard here. I'll be right back in a second, guys. Um, so hope everyone's doing great today. Brother Doug, as always. Today we are doing a continuation of our Proverbs study. You know what? While I'm doing this, Mom, why don't you start us off at Proverbs chapter 20?
Okay, sure. Wine is a mocker and beer a brawler. Whoever is led astray by them is not wise. A king's wrath is like the roar of a lion. He who angers him forfeits his life. It is to a man's honor to avoid strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. A sluggard does not plow in season, so at harvest time he looks but finds nothing. The purposes of a man's heart are deep waters, but a man of understanding draws them out. Many a man claims to have unfailing love, but a faithful man who can find? The righteous man leads a blameless life, Baruch are his children after him. When a king sits on his throne to judge, he winnows out all evil with his eyes. Who can say, I have kept my heart pure, I am clean and without sin? Differing weights and differing measures, Yahuwah detests them both. Even a child is known by his actions, by whether his conduct is pure and right. Ears that hear and eyes that see, Yahuwah has made them both. Do not love sleep, or you will grow poor. Stay awake, and you will have food to spare. It's no good, says the buyer. Then off he goes and boasts about his purchase. Gold there is, and rubies in abundance, but lips that speak knowledge are a rare jewel. Take the garment of one who puts up security for a stranger, hold it in pledge if he does it for a wayward woman. Food gained by fraud tastes sweet to a man, but he ends up with a mouthful of gravel. Make plans by seeking advice. If you wage war, obtain guidance. A gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid a man who talks too much. If a man curses his father or mother, his lamp will be snuffed out in pitch darkness. An inheritance quickly gained at the beginning will not be baruched at the end. Do not say, I'll pay you back for this wrong. Wait for Yahuwah, and he will deliver you. Yahuwah detests differing weights and dishonest scales. They do not please him. A man's steps are directed by Yahuwah. How then can anyone understand his own way? It is a trap for a man to dictate something rashly, and only later to consider his vows. A wise king winnows out the wicked. He drives the threshing wheel over them. The lamp of Yahuwah searches the spirit of a man. It searches out his inmost being. Love and faithfulness keep a king safe. Through love, his throne is made secure. The esteem of young men is their strength. Gray hair, the splendor of the old. Blows and wounds cleanse away evil, and beatings purge the inmost being.
Let's close it.
That was hard to follow. That was way different than the Septuagint. Either the verses were all are different, or something. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, it seems like they're out of order
Hmm.
in comparing the two.
Interesting. All right, so just bear with me, guys. It looks like this Logitech is done. Uh, this one keyboard I have, it's not working at all anymore. So uh, let's just try something here. All right, this is so weird. So now the Bluetooth one works again. This is so strange. Hmm. I don't know what happened to this one. Just effectively stopped working. It's very weird. Yeah, it's very strange. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, I think this thing's done. Probably hit the ground too many times. Okay, so this at least this Bluetooth one still works. Oh, okay. Okay, so let me just look on let's just look at the Septuagint and see how much different it is here and kind of go through it here. Yeah. So that was Proverbs 20. Okay.
I was reading from a hard copy Septuagint, so it might have been what thrown off. On the Mysore, they probably had it fixed.
Yeah. Well, let me see here because my sword will tell me if there's differences in it with the verse numberings. Let me see here. Usually my sword will tell me in the parentheses. Let's see here. Yeah, it's not showing anything. So I wonder what it is showing is that there's about 3 to 6 verses. I'm just not there at all. Maybe that's why your hard copy Septuagint tried to change the verses. Um, because it's showing here to me, it's showing here that verse 15 is not there, 16, 17, 18, and 19. So like towards the end, all 6 of those verses are omitted, it's saying. Um, as far as though, yeah, I would have to see here. Let's see my Tom Horn.
So
Brighton.
if the Mysore actually has, like, I'm looking at it, right? It says verse 14, text omitted, verse 15, text omitted. So in a hard copy, it wouldn't actually say that. It would just jump from verse 13, love not to speak ill, to verse 14. It would have, so in the hard copy, it has verse 20 at verse 14 instead. Um, that's what.
Yeah, I think that would be the difference. Yeah, would be they probably just jumped to. Let me just see here if there's any. Just trying to see in my physical Tom Horn Septuagint if there's any differences in verse numberings. Page 563. Okay. Chapter 19. Yeah, it is different. Verse 1 is a lot different. Yeah. So it definitely has to do with, I think the apps, like you said, they cater to the Masoretic so that people can easily follow it. So, like if you have a Bible app, it won't have verse numbering differences because they're going to cater it to the Masoretic. So it will say wine is a mocker, strong drink is a rager, whoever is deceived thereby is not wise. The app does that. But if you have a physical Septuagint, the verse numberings are off. Like it will say, folly is a man spoils his ways, he blames Elohim in his heart. So verse 1 would be like, I don't know which verse in the Masoretic, which verse in yours, Mom, does it talk about the folly of a man spoils his ways. He blames Elohim in his heart.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it's almost like the ordering of the chapter is completely opposite. Like Brother Yahusha said, um, wealth acquires many friends, but the poor is deserted even of a friend he has. False witness will not be unpunished. He that accuses unrighteously shall not escape. Many court the favor of kings, but every bad man becomes a reproach to another man. Everyone who hates his poor brother shall also be far from friendship. So all that is like different, like order than the Masoretic. It would talk about the fear of a king is like a roaring lion, a man's honor to cease from strife, but every fool will be meddling. So what they do in the electronic versions, like Brother Yahusha said, they they basically cater to the Masoretic text numbering. So there's not going to be a difference in the verses when you're looking at a electronic version. So it would read the same as my mom's Bible in electronic. So where it gets confusing is if you have a physical Septuagint in chapters like this. Like for example, mine in verse 9 says, a false witness shall not be unpunished. Whosoever shall kindle mischief shall perish by it. Which my mom's in verse 9 probably says, who can say I have made my heart clean?
Mm-hmm.
I am clean from my sin. You know, it's a completely different,
Yeah.
it's a completely different verse. So yeah, I think what happened was when they did these like Breton's electronic versions of the Breton Septuagint, they catered to the modern Bibles so that people could easily find the verses that they're looking for. Most likely is what happened. Diverse weights, diverse measures. Both of these are even an abomination to Yahuwah, verse 10 there, which would match the Masoretic. Which in a physical Septuagint, instead of that verse, it puts this at verse 10. Delight does not suit a fool, nor is it seemly for a servant to begin to rule with haughtiness. So it's like the ordering of the verses are completely different. Um, yeah. Yeah. This is interesting. This kind of shows you in verse 15 of the Tom Horns I have. It shows you what being effeminate actually is. Cowardice possesses the effeminate man, and the soul of the sluggard shall hunger. So, a effeminate man is someone that is cowardice, that's fearful, all the time. Kind of like, not to use like, for lack of a better example, if you ever seen Scooby Doo growing up, Shaggy, he's effeminate. He's not effeminate in the sense of being metrosexual, but he's effeminate as in he's scared all the time. He has no courage. He's constantly scared. He is fearful for any trouble that comes upon him. That's also being effeminate. So that's an interesting definition right there in verse 15. Mhm. So let's see here. Uh, I like verse 21. Verse 21 is really important. There are many thoughts in a man's heart, but the counsel of Yahuwah abides forever. In verse 21 there. Mercy is a fruit to a man, and a poor man is better than a rich liar. Fear of Yahuwah is life to a man. He shall lodge without fear in places where knowledge is not seen. Hmm. No. Mhm. Hmm. Yeah. Other than that, pretty self-explanatory in this chapter. Um, yeah. All right, so we got chapter 20 here. I think I'll probably do chapter 20. Wine is an intemperate thing, and strong drink, no, full of violence. All right, so I'm going to use the Septuagint, guys, by the way. Okay, so wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging. Whosoever is deceived thereby is not wise. The fear of a king is like a roaring lion. Okay.
That sounds like chapter 20.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Oh, I thought
I
we just read 20.
No, we read
he
19.
just read 20.
We
I
did?
just yes, we just read 20. Yeah.
Because I told you to read 19.
No, you told me to read 20.
Oh,
No,
that's right. I did say 20. Okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
last whichever the Shabbat before Shabbat was 17, 18, and 19.
Yeah. So my bad about that. I forgot I told you to read 20. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see here. So 21. All right. A rush of water, so is the king's heart in Elohim's hand. He turns it wheresoever he may desire to point out. Every man seems to himself righteous, but Yahuwah directs the hearts. To do righteously and to speak truth are more pleasing to Yahuwah than the blood of sacrifices. A high-minded man is stout-hearted in pride, and the lamp of the wicked is sin. He that gathers treasures with a lying tongue pursues vanity. To the snares, to the snares of death. Destruction shall lodge with the wicked. No. Um, for they refuse to do righteously. To the froward Elohim sends froward ways, for his works are pure and right. Better to dwell in a corner in a housetop than in plastered rooms with unrighteousness and in an open house. The soul of the wicked shall not be pitied by any man. When an intemperate man is punished, the simple become wiser. Again, simple being used as like a term for dumb, without knowledge. And a wise man understanding will receive knowledge. A righteous man understands the hearts of the wicked and despises the wicked for their wickedness. So that's kind of interesting. A righteous one understands the hearts of the wicked. So that's kind of interesting. He that stops his ears from hearing the poor himself also shall cry, and there shall be none to hear him. A secret gift calms anger, but he that forbears to give stirs up strong wrath. So let's see here. Stirs up wrath. Go ahead, brother.
I'm not sure I understand that verse in 12. A righteous man understands the hearts of the wicked and despises the wicked for their wickedness.
I guess it's because the righteous usually, because we've all had a past, we understand why the wicked are wicked. We understand that they're going by the lusts of their heart. So it's like you've been there, done that type of thing, and you hate them because I guess they would remind you of your flesh.
Yeah.
Is what he's trying to say. So he's trying to say, the righteous really understand the wicked. They understand the hearts of the wicked. And because he understands their wicked hearts, he despises them for their wicked deeds, basically. Because it reminds you of where you were. It reminds you of where you were and where who you were before Messiah. See, in the context of the New Testament, that verse probably makes even more sense. In a Tanakh context, it's kind of overlooked because, like it seems like a confusing way it's worded, but it's basically saying that the righteous, because the righteous have Yahuwah's spirit in them, they discern the spirit from the flesh. They understand how the wicked think, how their heart goes, and how, they're all about themselves. They're all about their flesh. And that's what makes him hate them. So yeah, it could be worded a little bit better, but that's pretty much what it's saying. It's to expound on that. Verse 14 is kind of interesting too. A secret gift calms anger. It's weird. I don't think he's telling you to be a receiver of gifts or a giver of gifts as in judgment. I don't think that's what he's saying there. But he that forbears to give stirs up strong wrath. So I don't think this is gifts as in judgment or as in like judging a cause. I seriously doubt that. Go ahead, bro. I don't know if that's a new hand. Okay. Let me see here. So the joy of the righteous is to do right ruling, but a set apart man is abominable with evildoers. So yeah, this would give me confirmation that verse 14 can't be referring to accepting gifts as in, accepting a bribe or stuff like that. Like you would then have to have 14 and 15 contradicting one another if that was the case. A man that wanders out of the way of the righteous shall rest in the congregation of giants. So that's talking about the wicked go to, the pit, Sheol, and they basically rest with the congregation of the Rapha, the giants, because where the giants are, they're in the underworld. They're in Tartarus or the bottomless pit, how you want to say it. Go ahead, bro.
Oh no, that was an old hand.
Okay, I didn't know. So yeah, my bad. So yeah, this just to explain people what it means to be resting with the congregation of the giants. In your Hebrew scriptures, your Masoretic text, it will say Rapha in the Hebrew there. It's referring to the demons. Okay, these are where demons dwell. Demons don't have a place in heaven to go to. They don't really live on the earth. Is not really their home. So all they have is the pit. All they have is Sheol. All they have is, probably a certain compartment of Sheol, but they have that's where they reside. That's where their parents are in Tartarus and all that. So that's what it means. He's basically drawn an allegory like this is where the wicked go. The wicked are with the giants in that portion of Sheol. So that's kind of what Solomon's trying to say there. So But anyway, so a poor man loves myrrh, loving wine and oil in abundance. And transgressors is the abomination of a righteous. So the righteous are abomination to sinners, sinners are abomination to the righteous, so on and so forth. To It is better to dwell in the wilderness than with a quarrelsome and talkative and passionate woman. Oh man, I know the sisters are going to be commenting here. Um, yeah, it definitely it matters what type of wife you have. If you're brute, if you have a modest, submissive wife, if you don't, then you're kind of dealing with what Solomon's talking about here. Quarrelsome, I would say talkative would not be the right word. I would say more of like spurning, like not just talkative,
Contrary.
but like sharp tongued. Not just talkative, but like sharp tongued, like a woman that's constantly cursing you to your face. A woman that's constantly making you have gray hairs at 30 years old. That type of thing. So, just saying that's what Solomon I think is talking about here. A passionate woman, be a woman that drives you crazy. That's what he's talking about. But anyway, so he's basically saying it's better to be poor, got no house, you're in the desert or the wilderness, than to be in a house with that type of woman. Which I've known a lot of men that have had relationships, even from my generation. I could attest to that just from being an outsider and looking in. That is very true. A desirable pleasure, treasure will rest on the mouth of the wise. A foolish man will swallow it up. The way of righteousness and mercy will find life and esteem. A wise man assaults strong cities, demolishes fortresses in which the wicked trust or have trusted. He that keeps his mouth from his tongue keeps his soul from trouble. All right, so verse 24, self-willed, insolent man is called a pest, and he that remembers injuries is a transgressor. So you have a bold and self-willed and insolent man is called a pest, and he that remembers injuries is a transgressor. Desires kill the sluggard, for his hands do not choose to do anything. And no. And wicked man a wicked man entertains evil desires all the day, but the righteous unsparingly merciful and compassionate. The sacrifices of the wicked are abomination to Yahuwah, for they offer him wickedly. No. False witnesses shall perish, but an obedient man will speak cautiously. A wicked man impudently withstands with his face, but the upright man, but the upright man himself understands his ways. So impudently, I wonder what impudently means. Have you ever heard of that word?
I think I've heard it before. Let me just see.
There is no wisdom, there is no courage, but there is no counsel against the wicked. A horse is prepared for the day of battle, but the help is of Yahuwah. And obviously, verse 31 here is basically, Yahuwah is our savior, not a horse. Don't hope in a horse. And, not trying to be facetious here, but I find it kind of interesting when you look at the Hebrew, what the suffix of Jesus goes back to. I believe the claim, and I think it could be backed up, is that, the S-U-S goes back to horse in Hebrew, or am I wrong, brother?
Ha is the, in Hebrew, ha, the sus is horse, so you're saying the horse, hasus, the horse.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting.
When they say Jesus, I think means the horse.
Yep.
Oh. Because there's multiple scriptures. We could do a study by itself about how many times Yahuwah says there's no salvation. Uh, okay, the mom just showed me here impudence person. Okay, so basically a disrespectful person. So if I put that context into verse 29, a wicked man disrespectfully withstands with his face, but the upright man himself understands his ways. So maybe it's talking about pride, like having a prideful face going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Impudent, yeah. Brenton with his fancy Middle English there. So, all right. So that was chapter 21 there. All right. So chapter 22, Brother Dennis, would you like to finish us off today?
I can.
All right.
Let's see. A good name is preferable to great riches. Favor is better than silver and gold. The rich and the rich and the poor meet together. Yahweh is the maker of them all. A clever one foresees evil and hides himself. But the simple go on and are punished. The reward of humility is the fear of Yahuwah. Riches and esteem in life. Thorns, snares are in the way of the perverse. He who guards his life keeps far away from him. Let's see. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he returns not away from it. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. He who sows unrighteousness reaps trouble, and the rod of his wrath perishes. He who has a good eye is Barak, where he gives of his bread to the poor. Cast out the scoffer, and strife goes out, and contention and shame cease. He who loves cleanness of heart, whose speech is pleasant, and sovereign is his friend. The eyes of Yahuwah shall watch over knowledge, but he overthrows the words of the treacherous. The lazy one says, there is a lion outside. I am going to be killed in the streets. The mouth of a strange woman is a deep pit. The one denounced by Yahweh falls in there. Folly is bound up in the heart of a child. The rod of discipline drives it far from him. One oppresses the poor to increase his wealth. Another gives to the rich only to come to poverty. Incline your ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply your heart to my knowledge. For they are pleasant. If you guard them within you, let all of them be ready in your lips, on your lips, that your trust might be in Yahuwah. I cause you to know today, even you. Have I not previously written to you of counsels and knowledge, to cause you to know the certainty of the words of truth, to return words of truth to those who send to you? Do not rob the poor because he is poor, and oppress not the afflicted at the gate. For Yahuwah pleads their case, shall plunder those who plunder them. Make no friendship with one given to wrath, and do not go with the man of rage, lest you learn his ways. Find yourself ensnared. Do not be one of those who shakes hands in a pledge, of those who are guarantors for debts. You do not have the means to pay. Why should you take away your bed from under you? Do not remove ancient boundary which your fathers have set. You see a man who is skilled in his work, he does stand before sovereigns. He does not stand before obscure ones. Mhm. There's a lot of information in here. Doug, are you there?
Yep, I'm just having a little snack here. Yep, we're here.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say something that I was thinking with the last chapter. I think it's important, like if there's any women out there that get a little raffled about, Solomon does mention these things on several different of the chapters about a quarrelsome woman, you know, I think what we have to remember too is not that it can't happen amongst believers, but Solomon, not even so much with how many wives he had, but the fact that he was not with he was not equally yoked. Okay. He was not with the kind of women that father wanted him to be with. And so I believe that this is part of what he reaped, if you are not spiritually connected to someone that you are, sharing your life with, there's going to be issues, there's going to be problems. And I was just thinking that, he's not somebody that was there looking for the kind of a mate that their father wanted him to have.
Yep. Yeah. You can only imagine an Egyptian wife, Canaanite wives, Hittite wives. There was definitely quarrels going on.
Probably amongst each other too, among all the women. I mean, I can't even imagine what that had to have been like. And had to be he had to have his frustrations and, difficulties.
Wow. This was kind of brief today. I did not expect this, especially in Proverbs when there's so much stuff in it. So
Yeah.
we kind of got baruched that this was like we had at least one or two chapters where there was a little bit of stuff missing. And because I forget if it was like 21 or 20, the LXX version had at least a good handful not there. Um,
I think verse
yeah,
14
this
is
chapter's pretty much self-explanatory. Oh, go ahead. I don't know if anyone wanted to speak.
yeah, I think uh verse 14 is interesting. There's an extra portion in there, but I was just looking at the first part, or the Septuagint has an extra portion in there, but just the first part that's both in the Septuagint and the Masoretic, it says the mouth of a transgressor is a deep pit, and he that is hated of Yahweh shall fall into it. So it's interesting, right? You have those that are of Yahweh that have, might um, speak negatively, and yet Yahweh, because he loves them, um, doesn't allow them to fall into it, right? But I'm not quite sure how to explain what I'm trying to say. Never mind. As for the extra part, though, it says, evil ways are before a man, and he does not like to turn away from them, but it is needful to turn aside from a perverse and bad way. I think that part's missing in the Masoretic.
Interesting.
Also, verse 9 has an extra portion. Oh, wow. Verse 8, too.
Yeah. I think this was quoted by Paul, wasn't it? Paul or Kepha? Yahuwah loves a cheerful giver.
Possibly.
I could have swore that's the Brit. Let me see here. Just real quick while we got a little bit of time here. Let's see.
Yeah, 2 Corinthians 9, 6-7.
Yeah. Unless
The
there's
one-
another place in the Hebrew, it seems like this is an LXX quote.
Yeah, it makes sense why they would take it out to discredit Paul.
Yeah. I think Paul was one of their major concerns. When I remember the writings of the Masoretes, their major concerns was like discrediting anything from the New Testament. That was their major agenda, along with hiding the name. One of their biggest agendas was disqualifying the Brit Hadashah as a whole. So yeah, I would like to just look that up just to double check, because I don't want people saying in the comments, "Oh, well, it's there somewhere else." I'm gonna just look in Proverbs throughout the whole book of Proverbs in the King James, see if there's anywhere that it says that. Cheerful giver. Nope, 0 verses found. So there you go. 0 occurrences in the Masoretic of Proverbs. So anyone wants, I can give them a screenshot of that from my MySword if you guys want proof and evidence. We can easily provide you proof of that. So again, another witness to that the Septuagint was the Bible of the apostles. It was not, rather than the Hebrew text. To those that want to say that there was some other Hebrew variant somehow that late into the time of first century AD, or not even first century AD. Actually, it would have been too early for a newer copy, because it would have been like, what, Mom, 30 AD or 28 AD, roughly. So there actually was not there. I don't think there was a newer Hebrew text, according to even scholars. Not even my opinion, scholars' opinions were that there wasn't a new Hebrew text created until like 100 AD or somewhere around there. So you would have no Hebrew text available to match with the Septuagint at that time. So those that want to say that, that certain places that Matthew, John, or whoever else quoted from a Hebrew, it's very unlikely. It's really very unlikely of that occurring, unless they would have the original Paleo Hebrew scriptures in the synagogue at that point. Still, that's the only other Hebrew you could have, was the original at that point in time. Unless I'm mistaken, there was no like newer Hebrew text between 33 AD to 100 AD. That whole gap of time, there was no new Hebrew copies. So you didn't get a Hebrew copy, a newer Hebrew version, until like 100 AD. So there was no, there would be nothing else for them to use other than the Septuagint, maybe the Targums orally from the synagogue, according to tradition, orally, they were being passed down as paraphrase understandings of the Torah. When the Torah was read in the synagogue, they would have a professional translator, oral translator, translating it for those that only spoke Aramaic. You would have maybe that in oral form, not physical form, and possibly the Samaritan Pentateuch. But as far as I know, I think there's few to any New Testament quotes in the New Testament that would match the Samaritan Pentateuch, as far as I know. I could be wrong. But so that's and again, the Samaritan Pentateuch is only the first 5 books. There's no Samaritan Proverbs. So all we have is a Peshitta, Masoretic, and Septuagint. Masoretic didn't exist at that point. Peshitta didn't exist at that point. Peshitta would have not been made until roughly, probably somewhere near 100 AD, the Peshitta of the Tanakh. So again, you got like a whole century, 1 century of they're mainly just using the Septuagint and nothing else. That's all they're using. So anyway, Shabbat Shalom, guys. Hopefully this was edifying for you guys. Have a great rest of Yahuwah and Yahusha Shabbat. See you guys next time. All right.